everyone, my name's David Hatch. I'm a leadership coach and business consultant running a small company here in the UK. Thanks for joining us today and welcome to the first video on my new YouTube channel. In this video I'll be talking about what great leadership looks like and talking about some of my top tips for new business leaders or managers. Hey everyone, and welcome to the first video I'm going to be doing on the topic of leadership and management in business. Every week I'll be doing a new video to give you some insights into leadership, a few hints and tips based on my experiences and those of some of the people that I've worked with over the years. In this first video we're going to look at what great leadership looks like. To do that we'll be going through some of my top 10 tips for new leaders or people who are running a business or managing a team. This will be perfect for you if you're new to leading or if you've recently started with perhaps a new team or you're hiring new staff members and so on. So let's get into the list then. These are in no particular order other than the order they popped into my head. The first one that comes to mind is really more of an organisational question. A simple hierarchy approach to managing your business is kind of an out-of-date and ineffective structure. By contrast, a matrix organisational chart is also not that effective. It's usually far more complicated than you need, especially in a small business setting. But many business owners and middle managers spend far too much time and waste an awful lot of energy on defining or worrying the company org chart. I know I've been in that position myself, and this is almost the definition of diminishing returns. So my main tip on this one is this: worry less about the org chart and more about communicating with your people. Focus your energy on talking to the team and forget about who goes where in the organogram. My second tip then leads on from number one really. It's difficult to overstate the importance of communicating with your team, but the nature of that communication is equally important. As a leader, but especially as a manager, the temptation is to view your interactions through the lens of this more traditional and old school definition. And this can mean you have a very one-sided view of the relationship between leaders and followers. You may view those interactions as I'm the boss, I do the talking. And it's really easy to get caught up in that and forget that actually communication is a two-way street. If you want to be a successful leader, you must listen more than you talk. And I mean really listen, not just be in the room when people are talking. Take in what your colleagues and team members are saying, ask follow-up questions to show that you're listening, and remember to follow up or act on what you're being told. Tip number 3 is all about building that rapport and engagement with your team. I've just talked about how easy it is to fall into the boss trap and focus solely on yourself and your own priorities at work. But if you want to be truly effective as a leader and to have a team that will go above and beyond, then you really need to take an interest in what matters to the people you're leading. And this might be a simple case of finding common ground and using that to improve your working relationship. You can go a step further than that and try and find out what matters to them from a career or work perspective. And this is absolutely a responsibility of the manager. Once you know that, try and find ways to support, encourage, and help them to realise those goals. And this leads really well into tip number 4, and that is something that's quite simple to say, but sometimes quite hard to achieve. and it's this: learn to empathise. For some people, this is already a well-honed skill or perhaps a natural talent. But for a lot of people in management roles, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes can be quite challenging. If you're not used to doing it, this can be a really valuable thing to develop. And it will help you follow tip number 3, among others, but primarily it will make you a better colleague and a better leader. My 5th tip is to be present, mindful, and focused. In the age of the smartphone and remote working, it is way too easy to completely lose touch with your team. And I get that COVID has introduced its own challenges in this regard, and certainly we have to evolve our understanding of what it actually means to be present. When in many cases we aren't able to do this by being physically in the same room, it's not as easy as it used to be. What's important is showing that you are engaging with the business, the team, or the person in front of you, whether they're actually in the room with you or on the screen in front of you. Don't be that manager who's paying more attention to their BlackBerry than to the employee who's pouring their heart out about an issue they're having. Don't be the one who interrupts a colleague mid-flow or mid-meeting because you absolutely must answer your phone to deal with a sales call from some random person who wants to flog you cheap insurance or something. Leave your phone out of sight and out of mind, close your emails, shut the door, or whatever else you need to do to ensure that you are actively focusing on the task, the team, or the people in front of you. Tip number 6 is all about values. Early on as a leader, you need to decide on what your values or your purpose or your passion, whatever you want to call it, what that driving force is for you as a leader. Why is leadership important to you? What do you want to achieve? What matters most to you? Once you've defined that in your mind, try and implement this in your daily behaviours and impart these same values or purposes to your organisation or your team. For example, you might be really passionate about the use of environmentally sustainable business practices. If you decide this is to be one of the values that you want people to associate with your leadership, then start to live that value every day. For example, start with the small daily gestures, so avoid unnecessary printing. That's an easy first step. Cycle to work 3 days a week instead of driving, and so on. So just a quick recap then of those top tips so far. Firstly, worry less about the org chart and more about communicating. 2, communication is a two-way street. 3, take an interest in what matters to your team. 4, learn to empathise. 5, be present, be mindful and be focused. And 6, it's all about your values. Know what they are and pass them on to your team. So that's the end of this first video, part 1 of what great leadership looks like. I wanted to kick off the channel with a big topic for our first video, and I've ended up picking one that's so big I've had to split it in half. So join me again next week to see my leadership tips numbers 7 through 10. I literally could talk about this subject for hours, but I promise I won't. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Finally, if you found this video helpful and you want to learn more, then I do provide leadership coaching as well as some online training. So there's some links in the description underneath the video for you to check that out as well. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.